there, I'm Richard Warner, and I'm an actor coach.
And I'm Erica Arvold. I am a producer and a casting director.
And today's conversation, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about types of directors that you see. And this is in no way, shape, or form meant to demean anybody, and we're generalizing like crazy, but we know directors out there also do this with actors. So we're going to talk to somebody who's had vast experience with many, many types of directors. And are there types? What would be sort of types of directors that you would really encounter?
I would call them schools of directors in a way, because some are from an acting school where they're really an actor's director. Maybe they were an actor in the past, or they just have that language down. And then there is what I call the technical director, who comes from an incredibly technical, whether they were a camera operator or a visual effects, practitioner, supervisor,
cinematographer.
Yeah, exactly. So then that's that's to me a technical director, and then there are writer directors, which are much more concentrated on the script and the story and whatnot. And all three of them actually approach auditions, at least in my perspective and in my experience, in various nuanced ways, different from one another.
And so what can an actor do if they walk in and they have a certain type of director? My first tip, it would be research. Yes. Really get to know who that director might be. And Erica talks about this as a casting director, because casting directors do their research too. So if you're going to work with a director, what do you do in your research?
I mean, I immediately go to IMDb and I look them up, and I look at all of the shows they've done and looked at the genres that they've worked in. But I also look at all the people they've cast before, and just to understand what physicality they've cast, what type of actor, and as well as what genre they work in mostly. And they may be doing something that I'm working on with them. Maybe it's their first feature film and they come from television, but at least I'll kind of have this background. And it's the same way I end up researching actors in a way, whether it's in the room or whether it's looking at a resume of an actor or seeing an actor's reel, is I kind of then know what their foundation is, so then I can do my job better and be able to speak the same language and maybe play in that sandbox.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So research is really important. Once you're in the room with the director and you know that director is an actor's director or a visualist or a technical director, you can have some clues there. So for me, if I know somebody has a sense of being more technically inclined, I know it's going to be more my responsibility to come up with good, wonderful character choices. Not that I wouldn't do that with an actor's director, but I probably know I'm going to be on my own here. And therefore, they're going to want somebody who's confidently doing good depth choices. Whereas I might just, if I'm really skillful, if I have an actor's director, show that he or she, that they can work with me, that I have room, there's some options to that there's a sense I want to be playful with them, that I would love to be in a partnership as we create this character. There are ways that I can get that done.
There are, and I think it's not an obvious conversation that starts right off when you walk into the room. I mean, I've had situations where there are actors who are incredibly talented and they come in and they just, all of a sudden want so badly to be that director's best friend, and they've heard that they're, an actor's director, so they just start chatting,
Yes.
and I'm kind of sitting there inside my head going, stop talking, get on with your audition. And so there's appropriate ways to do that, and I think it just starts with the work. So once that work is established, and you realize you're playing in the same sandbox, that's when those conversations can be had in an organic way.
Great advice. What happens, I'll give you one more scenario, if you have a director, and I call them the silent masters, and you come in and the room is sort of...
I love those kinds of directors.
drenched in this sort of mysticism. There's just almost a weight in the room that they're very quiet, they're going to say very, very little. What does an actor do in that situation?
Well, I am very intimidated by directors like that. That's why I giggled and said I love those kinds of directors, because what I do is I always assume that they have so much going on in their brains and they are so brilliant that I am just going to try to see what they'd like, present actors to them, and then they might say something brilliant. And I kind of feel like, if you come to it in that positive way, it turns out really great, rather than being intimidated by this, kind of, really big presence. I think really it's just a matter of there are so many pressures, and everyone is always wanting to perform well, and everyone has a passion and a creative sensibility about them, and it comes out in different ways. And as nuanced as actors in auditions come in, I've seen actors get nervous and have to, run to the loo 40 times, or say their lines out loud, or shake, or be really quiet, or want to chatter with me. All of those things are just the way one deals with pressure. And I think directors deal with pressure in many different ways as well. And one of those ways is being strong and silent. And so when an actor comes into the room, they just accept it. I mean, acceptance is literally, I think, the key to any type of director, and coming in, bringing your strong choices, doing your audition, and respecting the process. You're golden then.
Respecting the process. Let me give you a little scenario. When I was a younger actor, I loved those directors who really welcome and would give me indications that they loved my work, and maybe even give me indications that I might be in the running for a role. But guess what? Maybe 2 or 3 actors down in the audition sequence did something better than I, and so I never got the call back. So I was crushed. I was disappointed. And I used to be a director like that, and I realized that it's actually better if my posture is a little bit more neutral. Mm-hmm. That I'm not doing that, because then an actor, then I have a range of allowing as a director that I have my own choices, and I'm not going to crush that actor there. And so that leads this thinking to me, which is, it's not that director's responsibility to, in any way, shape, or form, to welcome me, mm-hmm. to make me feel comfortable, to make me, that director, if they want to, doesn't even have the responsibility to make my work better in a general audition. Those are all my responsibilities. It's lovely if they do that. It's wonderful if they do that, but it's not their responsibility, yes. Ultimately. If I walk in knowing that, that's what you're talking
yes.
about. But my responsibility is to do good work in front of them, to move them in such a way that they are engaged in the story of the character that I'm telling.
Yes, that's right. And that makes it, and that's sometimes people say, well, what should I do? I said, your audition.
Right.
It's your audition.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, don't try to predict what a director's personality is or what he or she is thinking. That's what I had to learn through experience. That it can be a whole bunch of different things, and it's frankly none of our business.
It's true. It's about the work. It's about the work and the story.
Tell the story.